And we are back. Welcome to the No Jerry Podcast, episode 10. Weekly podcast by Americans for Americans. We focus on what matters to you as you chase the American dream and all the crazy stories in between. Make sure to join our community on X and YouTube. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe, leave a review, and most importantly, like the video so we can get it out to as many listeners as we can. Happy Good Friday. What are we getting into today?
Happy Good Friday, brother. Today we're going to be unpacking the tragic FSU shooting by Phoenix Ikner, cutting through the X-fueled chaos of bots and grifters, spinning him as everything from an anti-Trump extremist to a gun-loving Republican. We're going to set the record straight on that. Then we're blasting off with the Blue Origin's new Shepard, celebrating 6 women soaring past the Kármán line, though we'll debate if they're really astronauts. Plus, we'll be tackling crowdfunding for criminals on GoFundMe, Trump's shocking tax hike pivot, and Florida's bold geoengineering ban, and some jaw-dropping headlines like a whale swallowing a kayaker and inmates conceiving a baby through prison air. Buckle up for a no-filter ride through the news you cannot ignore.
That last one's so crazy to me. I found that and I was like, how do you not talk about that?
It is so crazy. How is that even a thing, brother?
Oh, we'll get into it. But go ahead and we'll roll into the tragic shooting of yesterday at Florida State University. Basically, Phoenix Ikner was a 20-year-old son of Leon County Sheriff's deputy. The shooter had access to his mother's weapons. He was also a member of the Leon County Sheriff's Youth Advisory Board, so someone very experienced in terms of being around weapons and law enforcement. So still a lot of information to come out. X posts have spread conflicting narratives, with some labeling Ikner as an anti-Trump extremist, as others as a pro-Trump gun enthusiast. These are not supported by any official reports and reflect polarized online rhetoric. So obviously no surprise here. Both sides using a tragic event to their to push their own case on why the other side is bad. He was a registered Republican, but that don't really prove anything because Trump shooter was also a registered Republican. Ikner here was featured in FSU News in January before Trump's inauguration. Ikner was quoted commenting on campus protests by Students for a Democratic Society against President Donald Trump's inauguration and FSU policies. He said, quote, "These people are usually pretty entertaining, usually not for good reasons. I think it's a little too late. He's already going to be inaugurated on January 20th, and there's not really much you can do unless you outright revolt, and I don't think anyone wants that." So, in the terms, he's making fun of the protesters for the Democratic Party, so I would give indication that he does support the Republican Party, but then it just doesn't really give any light on his motive on why.
No, it doesn't really, bro. I mean, from anything I've heard, I mean, I don't know what the motive would be at all, really. Like,
No.
I haven't heard anything that's, evidence or sheds light on why he did what he did.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, oh my God, the one video that's spreading across the internet is there's a girl or a guy who walked by recording himself getting some Starbucks, and he recorded himself, his drink, showing it off as he's walking by a girl who got shot. And then he turns the camera to her, keeps walking. Didn't help her, didn't pay any mind. So just complete disgust from his perspective on why he would do that. And also, I mean, you look at just how quick it was. I mean, it happened at like 11 a.m. in the morning. And within I think right now the confirmed numbers is 2 are dead, with 7 total in the hospital with injuries. Right now it's alleged that he had a pistol, possibly a shotgun, but a shotgun was never shot, nor was it found on the body. He did get shot by police when they arrived on the scene, and he is taken into custody, so he did survive the shooting. So there will be questions to be answered. And I imagine, not to come to any assumptions, but I imagine it's probably bully related. I just don't really see what the motive was, especially with having a mom who's such a high ranking person in the department. There's just no way of knowing why.
No, and I mean, honestly, even if he comes out and makes some kind of statement at this point, like, it doesn't matter really. I mean, regardless of what the reasoning is, there's never any reasoning that there's ever going to be that's going to justify any kind of actions like that. But medical staff released a update on the victims. I'm pretty sure it said that six of them were surviving. Yeah. So updates from Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare indicate that all 6 injured victims are in stable condition. Specifically, 2 patients were expected to be discharged on April 18th. 3 patients were reported to be in good condition. 1 patient remained in fair condition. So at least as of right now, it seems that everybody is going to survive, which is great news. But yeah, bro, grifters on both sides are using this to use against the opposite, but it seems it's mostly bots fighting with bots. Right wants him to be radical anti-Trumper, while the left wants him to focus on being a white gun-loving Republican. And it's like, brother, what does it matter? God, we talk about
Exactly.
this. We talk about this kind of thing so much, but it's just like they take every story, no matter how tragic, what happens, how many people are hurt, and they don't talk about people that got hurt. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
We don't
don't even
see
pay respect.
No, and we're not seeing posts everywhere about updates on how they are or anything like that. It's all just like we said, spinning it and trying to use it as a political weapon when that's like supposed to be one of the whole things that we're not doing anymore. And that's also an interesting thing about X, bro. Like, it's a great thing. I don't think they should change anything about it. You should have free speech to say what you want on there, but you just really get to see both sides. So,
Yeah, yeah, and you got to be critical of both sides too.
gotta be critical about
Um,
everything.
the big thing I see, which I don't agree with on the left, of course, is them using anything weapon related to push some kind of reform on the Second Amendment. When Trump was asked about it, he did say, quote, "It's a shame. These things are terrible, but the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. I have an obligation to protect the Second Amendment." So it feels good to hear that.
Yeah, and what weapon did he use to actually do the
Pistol.
shooting?
It was
Pistol.
actually, it was his mom's retired pistol. And like a case in Michigan, there is a chance that she could be held liable because she didn't have it in the secure location that only she had access to.
I get that if it's like a child, like if we're talking
Yeah,
about,
I don't
you
agree
know,
with that, but it is something that's happened before in Michigan specifically. This is Florida, not Texas. Um, and also, I mean, you got to give props to the law enforcement officers because in Florida, like they really don't play around, and if they didn't show up as fast as they did, it could have been more casualties. And that was a point that I heard on a few podcasts was just like, if this was California, New York, and then how the police is so frowned upon and their funding is cut and all this other stuff, like. I mean, you see those different school shootings and stuff like that, and cops just wait to go in. They don't even want to go in, and you're just every second you wait is just possibility of another life being lost. So props on the police officers for getting in there as soon as they did and apprehending the suspect. There are theories of there being multiple shooters, different stuff like that. Not really any weight behind that. It's something to keep an eye on. There are a couple eyewitness accounts that say there was multiple shooters. So definitely something to keep an eye out. There's really nothing solidified by that. And also just, hearts go out to the families too. These kids, it was around the, like the student council building, I think, store, and no guns are allowed around there. So, it's just really no way for them to protect themselves. And I know personally, if seeing stuff like this makes me want to make sure my daughter, if she goes to college, she's got a little fucking 40 in her purse she can pull out or something. That way, if
a little 40, buddy.
I
40's
know,
pretty big.
yeah, I know. Just a little something. That way,
Right.
if she needs to protect herself, she can protect not only herself but the ones around her, and not just having ones. That's only half the battle. Knowing how to use it is the other half. And I think people they raise their kids to be like, oh no, don't play with guns, don't mess with guns. You shouldn't play with guns, but you should definitely have your kids aware of the safety and the dangers of guns, and keeping them away from it makes it them want to do it behind your back, and that's never safe because they clearly have not been taught how to do it the right way.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the biggest things about this whole disagreement to begin with. Like they say, it's not the gun that does the shooting, it's the person. And when it comes to things like that, bro, it's just like if you make a change to the Second Amendment and take away rights, there's already so many guns in the United States. They're never going to confiscate all of them, even if they try to do anything crazy radical like that. All they would do is take the option away for people to be able to legally protect themselves from people that are going to break the law with the guns anyway. So that's why that
Exactly.
whole thing doesn't make any sense to me.
And like
Um,
we'll talk a little bit about the Carmelo Anthony thing, but like you don't hear people arguing for knife rights, taking away knife privileges, and it's like the
right. Like,
simplest thing.
it doesn't matter. It's like if somebody's going to do something like that, they're going to do it. Whether it's a knife, a gun, a fork, a fucking sword, whatever. They're going to do whatever crazy act they have planned out in their head they're going to do. And also, just to touch on the kid thing, I was raised in a family where we get shown and taught about guns young, and I feel like that is key because then you just know gun safety in case like whatever kind of situation you might ever be in or anything like that. It's better to know how a gun operates and how to be around it safely than to just have no idea of it at all, like you said, and be kept away from it. It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. You don't even know what a safety is, how to turn it on, how to turn it off, how to
How to see if it's
clear the
loaded.
weapon. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that you see a lot, bro. I've seen so many videos on social media of people like making videos with their gun and then they fucking shoot it through the floor or shoot it out the door or something like that. We have an incident when we were
Yeah.
kids, boy. He said it wasn't loaded. It
Yeah,
was
that
loaded.
story, that funny story. I was actually at his house and I was waving around his BB gun and he said, "It's loaded, bro." I said, "No, it ain't loaded. It ain't got a clip in it." And then I shot the BB, watched it curve and smack him right here in the eyebrow. It didn't hit his eye, but hit him right here in the eyebrow, gushing blood. I was like, "Oh, he's blind. I'm never gonna be able to come back over again."
Dude, I probably still got a little scar from that
I
somewhere.
think you do. I
But
think we pointed out before.
All right, well, change the topic a little bit, something a little more lighthearted. So, Blue Origin took one giant step for mankind. They got 6 women ready to leave on time. Dude, that whole Blue Origin thing is so crazy. So, Blue Origin's new Shepard is the shuttle that was taken, and it is a fully automated ship that requires no piloting and goes just above the Kármán line. Each person had to pay $200K to $1 million, depending on who's on board. First seat ever was auctioned for $28 million. Also, I read that some people get on there for free. It just depends, and I don't know what dictates
I want to
what
go
your
for
price
free.
is. Right? What dictates what your price is? If you get for free, like I bet Bezos' wife's flight was free, but
Nah, it
um,
wasn't free. She did something.
mm, that sounds spicy. The Kármán line is 62 miles in the air and internationally recognized as the boundary of space. Not to burst anyone's bubble, but Sunita Williams set records on her 3 flights to the International Space Station and was stranded in space by the last administration. They are not astronauts or a crew. In fact, calling them that is an insult to all prior women scientists. And that's true, bro. That's like the whole thing that's really crazy about this is like, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I think it's cool. But the fact that they believe that it holds like all this weight is what's crazy.
I
Like,
agree.
like, like the notes say, like, there's been plenty of women astronauts. They've done big things. Like, so to take and like, you know, you said it earlier, they don't, the ones that actually have done big things are the missions that we don't hear about. The things that are hardly on the news. They're on the news for a couple days and they're gone. But like this, they're going to sit there and blast it all over social media. And it's almost like, it's fried, bro. The whole situation, because the people, a lot of what I see on it is people like talking negatively about it, which I get because of, everything involved with it. But at the same time, it's like, that's still just putting more eyes on it. Like we got
Exactly.
when something else happens in the future that's really big, we need to bring this same energy, but not in a negative manner. So that way they get the right and the props and flowers that they deserve for actually doing things.
Yeah, and it's just really all backwards if you know a little bit about who the women were on the ship, what their political beliefs are, and what they have said in the past. Well, what they're saying right now, ABC anchor went on to say that it was sexist for anyone to challenge their trip, which they said it's not a ride, it's a journey. It was a journey, it wasn't a ride in space, even though they spent 4 minutes in the atmosphere, 11 minutes total on the trip.
I
Um,
also heard one of them refer to it as a mission. which I thought was
It's
pretty
so
crazy.
laughable. It's so laughable, dude.
Like,
It's crazy, bro, because there, like you said, there are women who have done this before, long before these girls did it. And it's okay. Like, you're right. It is cool. I'm glad they got to do it. I don't think it really happened. I'm in that camp. And like Candace Owens said, it was just as fake and just as gay as the original moon landing when men did it. So to say it's a sexist thing is really just, it's the quickest card they can pull. Is something they don't like, something they don't agree with, is racist or sexist. Um, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy calls out the all-female Blue Origin space flight. Quote, the crew who flew to space this week on an automated flight by Blue Origin were brave and glam, but you cannot identify as an astronaut. They do not meet the FAA astronaut criteria. This comment comes after CBS host Gayle King compared herself to astronaut Alan Shepard, who walked on the moon, allegedly. And it's just crazy, bro, because like you see right here, like this is right here. This is a woman astronaut. Like this is someone, you know, who did the training. She put in the time, and she was up in space longer than 4 minutes to actually accomplish something and do experiments that benefited NASA and benefited their research. And I couldn't even tell you who Sally Ride is, but she was the first American woman in space. And they didn't even pay respect to her, nor to any women astronauts. And they want to talk about, oh, I hope this inspires people, little girls, to become astronauts. I hope it does too, but also don't call yourself an astronaut. It's a slap in the face to the ones who actually did the work and actually achieved something in the terms of being an astronaut and providing value for the scientific community.
facts, bro. And it's just like Adam said on PPD. It's like, how could they even expect? The fact that they didn't do anything is crazy to begin with. Like, I don't know why they think that would inspire anybody. But why would they think that anybody at all is going to be inspired to be an astronaut when we just had astronauts who got left in space for months?
Exactly.
Like, nobody wants to do that now.
Exactly. And the craziest thing to me, especially Katy Perry, I've never liked Katy Perry. I believe she's an industry plant from day one.
That's crazy.
I've
I
never
love
been a
Katy
fan.
Perry.
Can't stand her.
I love Katy
I'm not going to go into that because then I seem like a hater. But it's just so funny to watch these girls talk up. And these are the same women who preach the environment stuff, right? We hate Trump. He's not for the environment. We hate Trump. How much was the environment impacted when they went on this little fucking hiatus for 11 minutes?
It's a great question.
Obviously something. It was some kind of impact for what? For an experience that you paid for, $250K? No.
Yeah.
Literally. And then there's also the debate on if it was even real or not, because there are many things, videos and photos that makes it seem like there's no way in hell that they actually did it. Now, that brings up a greater talking point on if we ever even went to space to begin with. Now, I don't know if that specifically means that space is fake, but I do specifically think it means that space is a lot harder to go into than just a little 11-minute ride.
So, dude, that's such a crazy topic because I'm so conflicted on it. But I don't think, God, I don't even know. I don't think space is fake, bro, because then, like, how did those astronauts just get trapped? But there's just so many things, bro. Like how you said, so the one that just happened or whatever, there's just so many things that doesn't make sense. The way it landed, the way it had no burning or anything at all on it, like just so many things about the one with Katy Perry and shit just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it seemed like a show.
Yeah, and bro, we're getting the same resolution of videos of it that we do when we get videos of UFO sightings.
Yeah,
like
knowing damn well everything's in 4K.
Right, like you're telling me Jeff Bezos fucking funds this whole thing, but he can't get a good camera to get a good video of what's happening?
Yeah. There's deception and shitty quality of video for sure.
Right, which I mean, I will say the video of the ones that got rescued, that one was sus to me too. So I really don't know, but
yeah,
the way they landed in the water, bro, with burn marks on their shit, but there was no steam or anything that came off when they hit the water. That does not line up with science at all. And then dolphins just magically appearing around them and shit. Like, I don't know. That seems like a movie too, and it's a good
Yeah.
story. It's a good movie story too. If we think that they were trapped in space for a while, it's like, oh, now we're getting movies in real life. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I had seen something recently, and it really stuck with me. This guy Nathan Jones had posted. He said, "When I was in the WWE, I saw something that stuck with me. Not in the ring, but backstage. There'd be a wrestler they were trying to put over someone the crowd just wasn't vibing with. You'd hear boos from the audience, or worse, dead silence. No reaction, and that's the death in wrestling. So what did the WWE do? They pumped crowd noise, literal cheers through the arena speaker, sometimes even piped in chants like Rocky, Rocky for someone the crowd clearly didn't care for. And then I'd watch from the monitors backstage as the real audience started to fall in line. Like that fake reaction gave them permission to cheer, and they did. That's when it hit me. Most people don't think with their own mind, they follow the noise. And now I see the same trick everywhere in politics, on the news, on social media. They play the cheer track, and the crowd claps like trained seals. Manufactured consensus, emotional manipulation wrapped in a spectacle. It worked in wrestling, it works even better in real life.
Yeah, I mean that quote's an absolute banger. I feel like we see that. I mean, I feel like that's something that's been happening for a long time. But I mean, you see that, bro.
Yeah,
And
and it makes you question everything, but it doesn't mean everything's fake.
no, and it's also like it's crazy to think about when you think about that, really, because it also goes the inverse way as well. Like, I hate to bring it to politics, but for example, like when Trump had that speech, I don't think it was his inauguration, but when he had that boy that defeated cancer and everything, and everybody in the crowd was silent. Like, there was some of them that wanted to clap and cheer about it, but they didn't want to
Exactly.
be that person that then is looked back like, oh, you cheered for that? Oh, you sold out. It's like, bro,
Exactly.
if you have a heart, you should cheer for that, regardless of anything else.
Yeah, and that's where
But
people choose tribalism overall. Like they have to stick to their crew because it's their way of life. They have friends, they have family members that they deeply care for, and they're so radical that if they went on the other side, they would completely shut them out of their life, and that would be very hard in such a lonely world to have those people shut you out if you truly do care what they think, which most people do. To a certain extent, we all care what our family thinks of us, but also we shouldn't let it stop us from us being who we want to truly be.
100%, bro, at all times. And to kind of tie into that, I don't think those women were astronauts, but I do feel like I need to say, because everybody is saying the opposite, dude, the Daisy thing was hard.
Yeah, I never thought that was corny. The kiss in the ground, I think we disagree on that. I think that's fucking corny as hell, especially when a woman literally was stuck up there for 8 months, abandoned by the administration that they all supported in that craft. And they didn't even pay respect to her, didn't pay respect to any. Nah, the kiss in the ground was
Okay,
corny to me. The Daisy thing is cool. I'm sure her daughter loved it, and I love that for her as a mother. But everything else is corny as hell to me.
I get that for sure. And the ones that just that just did that trip definitely should have paid some kind of respects to those astronauts that we just got back. But I also understand why that lady didn't kiss the ground, because I would get back and be pissed. Like, fuck you guys. First of all, I don't even want to be back here. You fucking
Yeah.
dicks just left me up there for fucking ages when you could have been brought me home. But also, like I said, I might fucking kiss the ground after a really bumpy plane ride. So I can't really say nothing negative about that. I do think it's kind of corny, but like I said, I don't know, bro. I might be happy just to be making it back too. But also, that just ties into the whole thing of if it's even real. If it's
I
fake, then
about to
that's
say,
really fucking corny and really
yeah,
fucking played
that's the
out.
question you have to ask because we're gonna pull up this video here, and you have to wonder, like, yeah, we're making fun of them for this, but if it comes out to be fake and we got some
Oh.
true evidence, oh, it's gonna be 10 times worse. We're gonna have to hide because
Oh
the
yeah, and I
internet's
like Katy
undefeated.
Perry. I like Katy Perry too, but if it comes out that, then it's gonna be like, okay, bitch, you just lost hella points at that point.
Facts.
What's going to come out of
There you go. That looks fire. That worked fire.
Is it good right now?
Yep.
out of her mouth, but really her heart?
And is that Jeff Bezos out there right by the capsule? Kind of hard to see.
That is.
Here we go.
Here goes Jeff Bezos to open the hat.
mean, even then, bro, it didn't even look like he did anything with that tool. Like, it didn't look like he released any pressure or anything. It looked like he just pressed it on the door a little bit, nothing happened, and then it just popped open.
Yeah, and that's like if you're gonna fake something, you really have to when it comes to it being recorded, you really have to cover all your bases, bro, because video don't lie. I mean, sure it does with AI and everything else, it does, but I mean this was live, and that's the whole thing is when you come down that fast, just like when you go down in deep depths of the ocean, pressure plays a part. And that when you seen the door crack, there was no pressure in that. They shouldn't have been able to open it from the inside. So that puts everything into question. Everything.
Right.
And they're not even going to speak on it. So that makes it even more questionable because you won't even talk about the clear evidence that something's up.
Right. And they should have, I mean, like, if they were even smart about it at all, they would, like, try to say something to cover their tracks, like, something, like, even lie about something. But like you said, they're not going to address it at all. And that makes it even so much more suspect.
Exactly.
Gosh, crazy times we're living in, dude.
Well, I'll tell you what, craziest part of the times we're living in is crowdfunding criminals, how GoFundMe and other supporting platforms for crowdfunding convicts or for convicts risk a dangerous trend. I'm sure we've all heard about the Carmelo Anthony stabbing of Austin Metcalf at the track and field event at the high school, where he just stabbed him in his heart for a disagreement under the tent. A lot of false information on it in terms of them knowing each other, there being a bullying history. Comes to find out they had no past experiences with each other. So the big thing is, since then, DEI judge reduced the bail a lot and releases Carmelo on bail. Over $447,000 is donated to him and his family, and they're also selling merch in his name, with many local rappers and influencers pushing it, as well as a big community on Twitter, as well as all over social media. There's a lot of things that came out about them buying a new house and a new car with the money that they raised. And there are debates on that as well, because they say, well, we already leased that house before it happened, this, that, and the third. But if you read the instructions of the account where they raised the funding, it says it'll be used for housing and transportation. So what does that mean? So the big thing is too, is it's just very dangerous. It's very dangerous because he's becoming a folk hero in a sense, to where this will easily push someone to want to get recognition and do what it takes for them and their family to do something like this. And you think, oh no, it's just a one-time thing. There's not going to be a process out of this, or repeated thing. And then you look at the gang member from Sir 13 who just got deported, and all these Democrats were up in arms about it. They said, oh, you need to bring him home. He's a Maryland man. He was missed. He should not have been deported. Well, they're defending a human trafficker and one of the head of the managers in the Sir 13 gang. So it just shows that party wants to support gang members as well as full-on killers. The wife of Salvadorian gang member Kilmar Garcia, who's an upstanding man, set up a TikTok account and included a Go Send Go link, which is another crowdfunding page, raising over 200 grand, all while her abusive deported husband remains abroad. She disabled comments on her videos, carefully crafting the image of her husband as a loving man, knowing full well that playing on the sympathy of gullible viewers could earn her more money than she's ever seen. She has active restraining and protective orders on him from abuse from 2021. There are forces behind the scenes pushing and funding division, and it's clear once you follow the money. Even here, like, we have this video where Michael Strahan interviewed his wife, and she had nothing to say when he talked about the protective order. And her answer was actually really, really strange, believe it or not. Let's go ahead and get this pulled up.
Have to ask it. You did take out a temporary order of protection against your husband in 2021. Were you in fear of your husband?
Husband is alive. That's all I can say.
Okay, and I'm not going to push on that apparently. But how much hope have to ask it.
So yeah, she don't
Well,
even know
that
what to
didn't
say.
answer the question at all.
No, and I think his producer was like, okay, I don't know why you asked that question, retard.
Dude,
You're
so
not
I'll
helping
tell
our
you.
case.
I'll tell you that none of that makes sense, first of all. Regardless of even if bro was a bully, beat his ass. Hit him in the
Yeah.
mouth.
Yeah,
Don't,
throw your
like,
hands up.
yeah, when
Run
is it?
away.
That has become the biggest, like weird thing. I don't know if it's just because people are so soft or like what the reason is, but people, especially younger people these days, do not value life. And that is the
No.
craziest thing to me, bro. Like back in the day, before I was even born and shit like that, like they would fight all the time. Like everybody was just fighting. People weren't kill. I mean, obviously people were still killing each other, but way less than they are now. Now everybody's whole motto is, I got this gun or I got this knife, so I don't have to fight. I will shoot you if you try to fight me. Like, bro, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, it's
And
soft.
then, yeah, and then the other thing everybody's saying is like, about this whole thing, if you try to talk about it, they're like, oh, where was this energy with Kyle Rittenhouse? Like, okay, I didn't agree with what that motherfucker did either. He should have got the fuck out of there and left. But,
And wholeheartedly, they were chasing him. Like he had two felons on top of someone else who were chasing him. One ended up being a child predator. Beside the point, he turned around. He was defending himself. 100% was defending himself. And honestly, like I've been on that camp. It shouldn't have been as much hate towards him as begin with. Of course, it was in the height of the BLM stuff, and it just goes to show like Kyle Rittenhouse was justified in his self-defense. He's allowed to carry an AR, even though he was out of the state and not of age. I don't think that really matters. I think in that situation, he was allowed to defend himself. And it's completely different. It's completely different. You're at a high school event under a tent with other students. You're not at a riot. You're not out in a riot putting yourself in that situation. You were told to move, and you confronted you confronted him, and you even if he was a bully, and there's evidence to show that, it does not justify him killing him. And even if he was getting jumped, and I think even if he was cut that part out. Even if he was getting jumped, he didn't even try to run away. He went straight to stabbing him in the heart. And like, there's no evidence towards any of it. So there's automatically going to be, because in the state of Texas, there is no first, second degree, third degree. It's just first degree. Now that gets led up to the jury and the court to figure out, if it is a first degree murder in that sense. And in this case, it is a first degree murder. I'm not a lawyer, I wasn't a lawyer advisor or anything like that, but I wholeheartedly believe this was done in cold blood, and the fact that he's gained all this coverage is crazy to me. And I'll say it, I don't give a fuck if I'm a white male. If it was the other way around, it would have been riots in the street, and I guarantee you he gets convicted for first degree murder, and there will be riots.
yeah, I don't think I think somehow he's not going to get convicted. And I do think it is a completely different situation. I just don't think the other bro should have been there. I guess there was no reason to really bring that up, but that is what people are talking about on social media and trying to compare when, like you said, it is a completely different situation.
Were you talking about the Rittenhouse, or are we talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it is a completely different situation. There's no comparison there.
Yeah. And the biggest thing too is someone tries to bash your head in with a skateboard. That's a weapon, and you're allowed to defend yourself, because if someone grabs you, someone punches you, it's not a deadly weapon.
Right. It's just
these hands are deadly weapons, but they.
My only thought behind that, I guess, is just like, you and I have big enough brains to where we just didn't put ourselves in that situation. We have guns. We could have went there to help if we felt like we should, but like, what the fuck? That's not our issue.
Yeah, and that's not what's in question. He has free will and free choice, and it was the fact that it was an opportunity for them to jump down. It was an opportunity. It was an opportunity in a very high tension time.
Well, plus then it also just
fit their narrative.
It fit their narrative about the Second Amendment and how they're trying to fucking change it and all that. So
exactly, yeah. And I have this clip here so back to the Garcia, the illegal immigrant, who was deported. He's had deportation papers since 2018 and been in this country illegally this whole time. And the biggest thing too is I have this video here, and this is crazy because I mean this is what when you support the Democratic Party, you support so many things that are against just basic American morals, and it just goes to show, especially the ones who hate Trump so much that they don't want to vote for him, but also they don't want to take the time to learn about the other side and why they shouldn't vote for that side. But God, they'll talk about how much they hate Trump and how much they don't want to vote for Trump, that they don't understand what the other side's representing. And this is just a little point. Go ahead.
Well, it's that, and Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. Like we've talked about that multiple times, but like people literally just hate Trump so much they wanted to vote against him. And that's the thing is like we got into this like in the last, few years, and when you think about it, bro, it's like we went into this election like we're not Republicans. We were trying to see the ideals from both sides. And the Republican Party gave us nothing. I mean, the Democratic Party. I'm so sorry. The Democratic Party gave us nothing in terms of policy.
Yeah, they had power.
Yeah, in terms
since
of policy.
Obama, since Clinton, even though Hillary wasn't in, she still wielded great power in politics.
Bro, yeah. Or like they couldn't tell us any, Kamala specifically couldn't tell us any changes she was going to make or anything, bro. That just, I mean, that's just crazy. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you vote for that party or that person just because you don't like the other person so much for non-political things? That's what's the killer. They're making the decision about who should run our country based on things that are not political, which doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And then as time goes on, I mean, we know now. We didn't know before the election because they tried to tell us it was closer than it actually was. We know now majority of Americans voted for the other side because, and not necessarily because they love Trump so much, but because they saw how crazy and batshit the other side was when it comes to not protecting parents' rights in the schools and having teachers and kids go behind the parents' backs on multiple occasions, and not protecting kids across the borders and kids across the world in a sense, especially in our own country. And there's also not protecting voter rights, letting just anybody vote in multiple states, taking away making it illegal and calling it racist to ask for ID at voting booths. That's a Democratic policy. Also, while flooding in all the Democrats, which we've talked about on multiple pods before. Now, you have AOC here, who is raising funding. People think she's not going to be the lead of the Democratic Party in 2028. But right now, she's raised a lot of funding thanks to her and Bernie's little fight oligarchy tour. And so here she is having a good old time, just jumping with the narrative. And that's the thing. Like they put themselves in this tough situation where they have to defend things because their party defends them, even though majority of people are like, that's batshit crazy. Why are you defending this? And this is just an example of it right here.
And demand the return of Kármán Abrego Garcia in El Salvador.
Abrego Garcia was also arrested with two other well-known members of the vicious MS-13 gang. And two separate judges found that Abrego Garcia was a member of MS-13, and that finding has never been disputed. And just this morning, it was revealed through Maryland court documents that Abrego Garcia's wife petitioned for an order of protection against him for 2 instances of domestic violence in May of 2021. And here is the order right here. The court ordered that the respondents committed the following acts of abuse. Once in May of 2021, assault in any degree. And on May 4th of 2021, he punched and scratched his wife, ripped off her shirt, and grabbed and bruised her. This is from a court in Maryland. So not only are Democrats rushing to defend an illegal criminal foreign terrorist gang member, but also an apparent woman beater.
So regardless of the gang shit or him being from another country or any of that, somebody that does that, let's say, any old American did that, they should be in jail for a very long time. So if you're going to do that and you're not legally in this country, you should absolutely be deported. And it doesn't make any sense as to how there's even an argument or a discussion to be had about that.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. For most Americans, most people, most morally right people will look at that and be like, why is there a debate on this? Why is there a debate on women and men's sports? Which I will always resort back to because that's the one thing Americans can agree on, bro. I swear to God, 70% of Americans agree on that. It's the one thing we can agree on. We can't agree on anything else. And Democrats still die on that hill.
Yeah, it's all for, inclusion. And that's their whole thing.
Right, inclusion and then also division because it's the party of division. And like it's always hard because when we talk bad about the left, it makes us seem divisive. But also you have to play that middle ground of also calling them out on their bullshit. So when does calling them out on their bullshit not become, where's that line basically?
Yeah, I agree.
And you always wonder like, okay, we know that these riots, or I'm sorry, these protests that some turn violent, some of these protests, some of these, vandalizing of terrorists or Tesla dealers. I can't even talk today. You wonder, and then you go to the people are getting interviewed, and they're like, "Why are you here? Why do you believe in this?" And they're like, "Honestly, I just got paid to be here. We met up at this spot. They had a box of signs, and we picked the sign. There's pictures and videos of the boxes of signs, people shuffling through them, getting their signs. And you're wondering who's paying them, who's making these signs, who's paying for these signs." And Vinny from PBD last night's podcast made a great point. He had all the facts with it, and it all starts with one man. One man, the one rich guy we talk about sometimes on this pod that nobody wants to talk about, which he should be getting way more hate than Elon's getting these days. So we'll go ahead and jump into that.
I had to do research because this guy over here has taught me. Vinny, go backwards. Why, and who? Who's behind all this negative shit?
Go upstream.
Go upstream. And the one name I keep getting, Pat, is George Soros. This name keeps coming up, and he's never been dealt with, okay? He's not funding a couple of lawsuits, okay? He dumped billions. So check this out. Open Society Foundation poured $32 billion into Democrat causes. BLM riots, Antifa, Tesla protests, pro-Hamas campus protests, Adam, CRT in schools, attack on voter ID laws, open borders, soft on crime, DAs, Trump impeachment legal teams, and trans agenda in classrooms. And think about this, guys. America welcomes George Soros, right? They love him here. He's kicked out of Russia, Hungary, Pakistan, Turkey, Poland, Philippines. All of them kicked him out because of national security, but we treat him like he's VIP here. Okay, he gets VIP access, and he got $260 million from USAID to help wreck our justice system from the inside, okay? And now his money is backing Justice Action Center and Human Rights First, who blocked Trump from deporting 500,000 illegal migrants using Obama judge Indira Talwani, and all of it's funded and planned to disguise as human rights. This guy is the enemy of the freaking people, and he has to be dealt with accordingly. Period. Somebody has to do it.
That's a name I feel like, we don't ever hear much about him at all.
No, and huge ties to the Democratic Party, to Obama, to Clinton, and he's old as shit. So people might think, oh, this will end soon. No, his son is completely being prepped up and groomed to basically take over for him whenever he decides to finally croak over. And let's talk about, and Vinny begins to go into this a little bit longer in the pit clip. Let's go into George Soros. Well, he is a Jewish guy from during the Holocaust where he ratted out other Jews to the Nazis. So he didn't even protect his own kind in that sense. And Jewish people, among all the people, protect their own more than any religion. And he was willing to give up his own people to the Nazi party. So, I mean, that's just where he started his early life. And then now we come down here to where he has his hands in everything. But he's really good about staying out of the limelight.
Yeah, it's probably really easy to stay out of the limelight when you're the one that, when you put a lot of funding into the limelight and are the one that has a lot of say in what narrative and what they're pushing at the time. So that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to put Elon so negatively in the limelight constantly.
Yeah, and like this divisiveness is what they want to push. They want to push it just like they tried to push that Kamala actually had a chance or a fight in that election last year, which she did not. Obviously, we know that now. And it just goes to show here when they talk about the approval ratings at CNN, and this is CNN, so the biggest thing to remember is CNN is not pro-Trump. So when they show these things, it sucks for them because they don't want to show them, but they have to keep up on these polls because this is what Americans and delegates look for. And
Right.
just here,
deport all undocumented immigrants. Voters favoring the government trying to deport all 11 million of them. Back in
I don't know why this keeps pausing.
2016, just 38% of voters wanted the government to try to deport all 11 million undocumented immigrants. Compared to where we are in 2025, 56%, the majority. The American people have come a long way on this issue, much closer to Donald Trump, and I think that's a big part of the reason why Americans are increasingly saying the country is on the right track when it comes to immigration policy, and why Donald Trump's net approval rating on that issue is in the positive.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I would agree with that 100%. I believe ever since hearing the guy that is the leader of Poland talk, I'm all for their model, honestly. And everybody's biggest argument is, we're a nation of immigrants. We're a nation of immigrants. Brother, every country is a nation of immigrants. Nobody,
Exactly.
people weren't just sprouted up from the dirt in each country. People had to move around to get to anywhere. So
They had to conquer.
Exactly, bro. And it's bad for national security, period.
Exactly.
A bunch of people that are illegal and are fleeing their countries for who knows what reason, especially when we're not checking and having any type of shit in place to figure out why or who they are, what they've done, where they came from. It's just bad for national security, bro. And people don't want to talk about that really right now because it's not, the biggest deal right now. But in a few years when shit starts popping off, if we got a bunch of people that are not on our team in our country, we're going to be fucked.
Yeah. And I believe Elon when he says that was their whole plan from the get-go. Is George Soros' plan is to bring in a lot of Democratic voters and allow them to vote even without citizenship and without IDs. I believe that to my heart after all the evidence that I've seen. Obviously, it's not in stone until we have like an actual Biden document that states that's what he was trying to do, which TBD. But yeah, man. And I think when you look at it too, I always think about Rogan's argument is like, people always say, well, this was the Native Americans' lands and we should give it back to them. Okay, well, like he said, Native Americans used to go around and raid tribes and take land from other Native Americans. So you'd have to go back and figure out who originally owned this land before it was taken and conquered from them. So it just doesn't add up. So it's a non-argument. And I had seen an interview where this woman from London had talked about, and she's an American citizen now for many, many years, many decades now. And she said, when we had the greatest migration during the industrial era, all those people, those Irishmen and all them, they became police officers. They were huge contributors to society. And I don't think we shouldn't bring in refugees. I don't think we shouldn't bring in immigrants. We definitely should. But the argument for the Democrats is that they should let them in. Obviously, they wanted to let them all in, but also the processing those immigrants, their systems are terrible and they don't even try. It's like, oh, we have these systems in place to make sure that we have these refugees processed in due process, and their systems are terrible. And we see that. I mean, we see how their process and their systems are terrible in New York and California and Minnesota, who are democratically ran states, and we see how much of a shit show those states are.
Yeah, and we've seen multiple videos over the last few years specifically of people even that work at the border day in and day out just talking about all the fuckery, whether it's how they're not doing anything to verify people, how they separate families and don't even try to keep them together and separate the kids specifically, and just all kinds of fuckery, bro. Like,
they don't talk about Obama. Obama had kids in cages.
Yeah, and
they want to say that Trump has kids in cages.
Right, and he was doing this. He basically was saying the same shit about deporting illegals.
He's deemed the deporter in chief,
and they never fucking talk about that. No. But now that
Trump's doing it's not that they know that, dude. Obama is like their savior. Obama could never do wrong in the eyes of the Democratic Party. Even when Tulsi on the record said the reason why she left is one time she pressed up against Obama while he was president. All of her Democratic colleagues came up to her and was like, you don't challenge Obama. no, what are you, career suicide? Are you kidding me? And it's just like, dude, fuck him.
Yeah, and bro, that's like a huge issue. That's like the whole basis of our government is that everybody has a voice.
Yeah.
You know, you should be able to voice your discrepancies, chat about it, come up with a fucking solution or something. So, yeah, that whole fucking thing's a shit show, dude. Hopefully they get it figured out eventually. We'll see one way or the other, but who knows?
Well, while we're over here fighting against the crazy media narratives, why don't you talk about what Trump was talking about, those tax cuts?
Yeah, so Republicans are reconsidering their commitment to tax cuts for the rich in Trump agenda bill. President Donald Trump told Republican senators in private last week that he's open to raising tax rates on some of the highest earning Americans. Trump's potential openness to tax hikes could be a strategic move to maintain party unity and avoid alienating moderates or populists, though it risks opposition from traditional Republicans who view tax cuts as essential for economic growth. Trump's about to crush the greedy billionaires with tax hikes while the market's burning their portfolios. He's the ultimate working class hero, making the elites pay for their globalist sins. And all of that is so crazy, bro, because basically the whole time before he was even in office, and since he's been in office, when he's been doing things against the rich, they're still pushing the narrative that he's basically just trying to help his rich buddies and he's manipulating the market and all this shit, bro. And they have no evidence, no facts to, go along with anything that they're talking about. They're just saying this shit because it sounds good for their narrative per usual.
Yeah, 100%. And this is huge because it's one of the arguments. I mean, if that's what we're going to continue doing on this show is just debunking those arguments. And, eventually we'll get into the whole environment debacle and what that looks like. And it's just like you said earlier, the stuff that they concern themselves with about Trump is not significant in today's economy and today's world and real world issues. And if we're talking about anything, bro, all the stuff that they're crying about is nothing compared to the trafficking world and how bad that is. You never see protests against that. You never see, if anything, they're pushing for more Chinese slave labor. We need to send more work over there to cheap Chinese slave labor, kid slave workers. And it's just so backwards when people actually look into the depths of what they're saying. And it's this prospect of such a momentous shift is driven by transforming electoral landscape, with Republicans attracting voters with lower incomes and without college degrees, while higher income and college educated Americans drift towards Democrats. The S&P 500 is down over 14% since Trump's election, largely due to tariff policies which have raised concerns about economic disruption. Wealthy investors are affected as 93% of the stock market value is owned by top 10% of Americans, which you stated on last episode that we had. We are going, this is my personal opinion, we're going into the greatest buying zone in stocks and crypto and in retirement funds. This might be the greatest entry into the markets that young people never thought would come. Being able to take a couple thousands and hopefully turn it into tens of thousands could lead to larger investments in businesses and real estate if they take advantage of it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's crazy because, like you just said, the market crashing the way it is not affecting the everyday American. It's like, I wish I would have saved the video, bro. Maybe it's when you sent me. Did you send me that video of that funnier, like, redneck guy? And he's like, all these things that these people are talking about are shit that I never even partaked in, I guess, anyway. Like, the stock market crash. And he's like, I never had any money in the stock market anyway. I live paycheck to paycheck. This ain't affecting me. And shit like that. And most Americans, it's not.
And we're all young. We have buddies that are young. We have, friends that are young. And if you have your money in a 401k or an IRA and you're young, short-term volatility doesn't affect you anyways.
No.
So why are you crying about it? The only ones crying about it are the old people showing up to these protests because they're retired and they're bored. And the weather's getting nicer, so I expect very many more to come out and get their legs stretched.
Yeah, bro, and it's sad. It's really honestly sad because, I mean, even our generation, like, you and I started learning about it, I know, like, my dad personally has started learning about it as I've gotten older, but, like, they didn't know no better, bro. It was literally just 401k and die, and that's it. So, like, I get why they're, I guess more stressed about it, but it's like, like, I hate to say that you should have just known not to just park all your eggs in one basket, but that's been a fucking saying as long as I've been alive. So I'm sure it was way before then. And like, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I get why the old heads are stressed, especially the ones that are recently retiring or planning on retiring soon, because it will be tight. But the stock market's going to rise. The stock market rising is just as fucking, guaranteed as death and taxes, brother. Every time it goes down, it goes back up. Every time it goes up, it goes back down. That's just what it does.
And like, I mean, if you really have to change your mindset, because that's what the whole thing about when you get into investments, the biggest thing you have to realize is cutting off that emotion, that natural tribalism that we have as humans to be like, oh, this investment's so good, so I'm only going to look up good news articles and good research about this project and not pay attention to any of the negatives about it because I already decided that this is what I'm going to invest in. And it should also just open up their minds to look more into the stuff which they were never taught. And like you said, they were never taught how to look into that stuff. What is a market cap? What is market volatility? What is stock volume? Like, what is all that stuff? It's something that you should be interested in looking at. People, sometimes a lot of people are just like, I don't want to deal with it. And that's cool too if you just want to park your money somewhere, but you're going to have to deal with the consequences of that.
Right. And like you said, that's the biggest kicker with that whole thing, bro. If you just want to park your money somewhere. The only way a 401k is worth it, honestly, is if your work is matching a certain percent. You put that percent in that they're going to match because that's just free money and you let that ride.
Yes.
But that should never be your only form of investments, especially like you just said, because then that requires you to do no critical thinking, not to learn about the market or how it operates in any shape or form. And then when shit like this happens, you're in shambles because you don't know how it works. And then you're just like, well, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
And I mean, if that's your only option,
really, it should make you be like, oh, I want to buy. I'm going to put more in.
And like, if you're 70 years old now, when it's going down, then that does suck. That's pretty tough because, I mean, like if you're retired already and you are living off your 401k, that is tough. But it's just like going forward, generations and everything, people have to be better. You got to explain, you got to teach your kids these things. You got to show them other avenues and ways that they can make money when they retire rather than just 401ks.
Yeah, and they should just learn about the Federal Reserve and how they've been kicking this can down the road. The way our stock market's been just gradually going up nonstop is not sustainable. It's not at all. And the crash that happened in 2018 or 2008, the one that happened in 2020, those all were saved by printing money and inflating our dollar, which we're paying for now. And it just continues to show. And the biggest thing they don't talk about is what's the other asset that all them old people own other than stocks? The house that they got for $7 back in 1955.
If they're smart, yeah. I mean, the ones that have 401ks probably have a house, yeah.
Exactly, and the housing is doing just fine. Real estate will do just fine, and if anything, it's a lot of smart people, way smarter than me, will say real estate and land, same thing. It's a great thing you can invest in, and it's the most safest. You avoid that market volatility, which is what we're experiencing right now, is the volatility of the market, the ups and downs. Whereas land and real estate, even if it does have a drop like 2008, it took 3 to 4 years, and shit was back to all-time highs and continued to gradually go way higher even then.
The weirdest thing about real estate, though, especially now and in recent years, is just the interest rates. That's kind of what makes it weird, recently, because interest rates being so high, that changes things a little bit. But even then, especially if you're younger, it's still not a terrible time to buy. You just got to hope interest rates come down, and then you can.
And that's the thing too, is we're at a point now where we haven't. I wasn't gonna have us dive into it because it just kind of happened. It's something I want a little more development on, but the Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, is lacking on cutting rates, even though our numbers are looking good as an economy, the business and everything that's coming in. And granted, he might be more scared of tariffs, but all the banks around the world are cutting rates for their countries and their, entities, and we haven't done any cuts. And that's the whole thing, is everything's looking good for young people right now, and it's going to get better. But that is Trump. Trump wants to lower rates. He's been on Jerome's ass on why he's not cutting rates. And that's something where we have Jerome Powell until the summer of 2026. The president, by Constitution, cannot fire the head of the Federal Reserve, even though Trump was the one that put him in there to begin with, in his first term. It just shows, bro, like the markets are going to be very turbulent, and eventually the Fed is going to have to lower interest rates, and you're going to see a lot of influx of money into the economy. You're going to see a lot more people wanting to buy homes. And the biggest thing, too, when it comes to homes is people, honestly, in my opinion, people shouldn't be buying a home until you can put 20% down anyways. Because then you avoid PMI insurance completely, so you're saving money in your pockets every month. And that it really just protects you in the long run, where you already have that nice nest egg of equity. You put 20% down, you build upon that, and on top of having some stocks and having a retirement portfolio, young people can really set themselves up nicely to where they don't have to rely on Social Security as hard as baby boomers do now, which is most likely going to run out by 2033 and 2035 based off actual economic data. So it's an awakening in a sense that people need to be more aware of their investments. And I think Trump hopefully will get rates down, and it'll be able to open up more opportunities for young people to buy land and buy homes.
True, bro. And I feel like we have said this on the pod a couple times, but I just feel like it's necessary to reiterate this before we continue on to the next topic. But, bro, tariffs are necessary. This recession was going to happen even if Kamala would have won president, brother. But what would have happened is she would have printed substantially more money. Our country would have been in substantially more debt, and we would have been doing nothing at all to try to fix that. We would have cut no waste. We would have saved our country no money. We would have just printed more money, gave Americans false hope that they were doing shit by just giving them fucking money, and we would have continued to fucking inflate this house of cards that is our nation's economy. So at least now, dealing with this recession, we're moving in the right direction. And that's what I just feel like people can't see. They're just like, well, we're in a recession. We're fucked. Everything's in the red. We're fucked. It's all fucked.
And they don't even know. They can't even define half the shit that they're bitching about.
No, and that,
they don't even know that Biden changed the definition of recession in 2022 to avoid saying that we were in a recession in 2022.
Exactly.
So if you don't even know that, why the fuck are you even speaking on it? If you're talking about tariffs and you don't know about trade deficit and trade surpluses and how we've been getting fucked in our whole lifetime, plus over that more than almost 50 years, then why are you speaking on it? You have no idea. Yeah, I'm not an economist. I'm not an expert, but I've taken the time to read before I speak on something.
And that's all it takes, bro.
So we got this little clip here from the great, great people of CNN, the smartest people. Just kidding. They're not. But Scott is. I like Scott a lot. And he's the only reason why CNN's holding up a little bit of ratings that they got.
That's what helps. That's what helps if you didn't wildly put tariffs in place that don't make any sense. That would probably help more.
Where do you think the tariffs don't make sense?
China. I mean, the big one.
China?
Does not make any sense.
Doesn't it make sense to have tariffs on China?
No, it doesn't make sense to have this level of tariffs on China. That entire
level do you prefer?
Well, not 145%.
Give me a number.
Again, not 145%. How
about 144?
Again, how about 275?
You seem to be very definitive.
No,
this number is wrong.
No,
I just
what level,
because the economy is telling me that it's wrong.
Scott, do you think that the U.S. economy can sustain long term on China?
On China?
Yeah.
I want whatever it takes to isolate them.
I'm going to do what's the number, Scott?
I hope it's this one, but
what's
if it has
the
to be,
number? You think it's 145%? You think that the economy will be good and fine in the long haul? I think
the economy will be good and fine, and our national and economic security will be better when we decouple from China and we're not dependent upon our biggest enemy in the world. For all of this stuff, we need to isolate them. We need to isolate them, and that's what he's doing.
I'd like to know.
Way to call him out as our enemy, Scott, because that's what nobody else wants to do. Also, that poor fella on that panel was set up for failure, 100%.
He is every time. He does not fold. It does not matter. And they never have. They might have one, like they have the woman there in red who's calling her out, like, "Oh, you think we shouldn't tariff China? Explain."
And that just goes to feed that whole narrative that we always talk about, bro. They don't ever want to say anything bad about China when China is dog shit. Their own fucking citizens don't want to be there but cannot leave.
Yeah, and the ones who speak out against it disappear.
Bro, it's nuts. People that don't know shit want to defend China so fucking bad, bro. It is crazy work.
Yeah,
it does not make any sense at all, bro.
It just shows the death of patriotism in this country when it comes to the left. They continue to talk about how much they love their neighbors and love everybody as they vandalize everything, everybody's property. They violently attack people, and they continue to speak on hypocrisy.
I gotta say this real quick, bro. I don't want to dive into it. We don't have to make it a whole thing. Hopefully, we can talk about it next week and we have some more info on it. But they gotta release the fucking Epstein files, bro. God, they're gonna release us everything but those, and we fucking want them.
In the speaks of everything but, Tulsi just dropped 50,000 files on the RFK assassination, RFK Jr.'s dad, Robert Kennedy, as well as she dropped Biden documents, which exposed a lot of stuff on Biden that I haven't even scratched the surface on yet. So we'll have to get into that next week. And we'll get an update on what the hell is going on with these Epstein files and why me and Eric actually disagree on why it's taking so, or why it's okay to take so long, I guess, would be the debate.
And it's just crazy, bro, because yes, love that. I love that they're releasing those files. We need them. But then that just fuels the shit more that if it's easier for them to release those than it is the Epstein files that they told us we were getting on day one, what's the fucking deal? Why are we not getting them for real at that point? If they can release the shit about Biden and everything else, is like, that just makes it so juicy.
Yeah, and we've talked about how there's not a lot of negatives to this presidency so far, but that is one of them. And it's the day one promises from not only Trump, because he said day one I was going to end these wars. Now that's a harder thing to do than just drop some files.
Yeah, that was so silly to say. Unless
it's dumb.
Just dropping bombs.
It's dumb. But as a salesman, you're trying to sell yourself for an election, so I understand it. Like I said, we have Democrats currently actively trying to defend and lie about illegal, violent aliens to our face right now. And yes, Trump lied about day one. And Pam Bondi lied about day one having the files on my desk. And that's something that is a negative, and we have to speak on that, but it doesn't mean they should be impeached. Trump should be impeached, not be empowered.
No, and and likely, you know, Pam thought she did have all the files. We'll say that. But also, you know, if they want to fuck it, I mean, the screaming impeaching for that is nuts from all the shit we saw with Biden and him saving his own family's ass. That's way fucking worse. So,
yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. And then this last political topic we dived into, it actually was announced last week, but we couldn't make it onto the show. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida supports the bill by Senator Iana Garcia to ban geoengineering and weather modification, aka ChemTrails. One of the biggest conspiracy theories out there that people get called a nutcase for. It is not a conspiracy theory. They are affecting the weather, and fuck you if you call me a conspiracy theorist for that, because clearly he's not. This is him speaking on it. He basically talked about this bill prohibits geoengineering without oversight or accountability. Florida Senator Iana Garcia presents Bill SB 56 to the Senate committee. This bill bans all form of weather modification in the state. Soon, Florida will have clear blue skies free from toxic haze and lines all across it.
I mean, that's just so crazy, bro. I mean, it's great news for Floridians. Clean air and water are human rights, not a luxury for the few. And Florida taking the lead in banning geoengineering is a huge step forward for public health and transparency. And it's just like, it's nuts, bro, because like, I was literally in the program for aviation maintenance, and my teachers there who had fixed planes for 30, 40 years, all of them, like, this topic came up in each class, and each one of those professors died on that hill that chemtrails are not real. Like, they would pull up planes, the pictures of planes that had, like, no seats in them, straight tanks in the back with shit to eject the shit from the tanks in them, and would tell us that that's not chemtrails. Like, they had reasons, alleged reasons for all of these things and why we have them, but none of them was ever chemtrails. It was always, you know, it's not bad for the environment. What they're doing is not damaging or harming the environment or doing really anything to the environment.
See, that's the thing. In that statement there, they're admitting that's going on, but they're certain it's not affecting the environment or affecting the people. Like, they're very certain.
Right. So, like, how are they certain about that, but they're not certain on what it is, dude? That's such a terrible thing that we see so much anymore, is people are so certain that something is not one thing, but they have no idea what it is.
Speaking in absolutes.
Yeah, it's just like, it's just like the Greys, bro. Motherfuckers, no reproduction.
We're not getting into that.
No, but it's just
one
like
of many species.
Well, yeah, but and it's just like the drone thing, bro. How forever under the previous administration they told us that they were not ours. In absolutes, they weren't ours, but they didn't know what it was, and then it comes out they were ours. So the whole chemtrail thing basically fits right into that same scenario. Like, they never want to tell us what it is. They never even want to acknowledge that it's real. But then now it definitely is, and we're talking about it. It's going to be before Congress. So
the biggest thing I've always thought about, bro, is in every aspect of science, history, we only know what we know. And we only know, in some cases, what we've been told. So we just can't be naive to think, well, this isn't real. That's not real. That didn't happen, because there hasn't been evidence to prove that hasn't, or it has. And we come across new evidence all the time in science, in space, that disproves past theories. And I mean, what they talked about, was it dark matter, anti-gravity, or what? Or I can't think of it. There's something that surrounds everything in space, and they had said that there's, that's not real, and then it comes to find out that it is real, and that just happened in recent years. I don't even know exactly the terms of it, but it just goes to show, it's just, we only know what we know. And when it comes to, the moon landing or chemtrails or MK Ultra or any other CIA operation, we only know what we know until files come out. Nobody gives a shit about the files, and then we discover new things.
100%, dude. And it's just crazy to me. Like, that is one thing, especially in recent years with all the things that have come out, all the conspiracy theories that have been proven, that I always was interested in high school and stuff anyway. But I feel like it's almost, especially in today's time, bro, it's really, really, really hard and honestly silly for people to even speak in absolutes, bro, because a lot of things we really don't know. Like, we don't know even half the time if shit is real or fake. Like, now technology is so advanced, you can see it. You can see it on a screen before your eyes, and it's fake.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's crazy, bro. I feel like people speaking in absolutes in general, for the most part, is just silly. Especially when we're talking about things that, there's not really evidence that can even be provided for or against.
100%, dude. And that just shows, like, people just can't be so close-minded. And then what was it? I seen there's a podcast. I like to watch that financial audit stuff on Caleb Hammer's channel, and he had talked to some active socialist on there, and he was like, "Oh, so you're just so you just flip-flop and change your mind?" He's like, "No, if I discover new information and it goes against what I believed, I change my mind based off new information. Everyone should." And she was so dumbfounded by that. And it was like, how, and there are people like that. It's like, oh, well, I believe in this. Anything that goes against it, automatic fake, or they're not even admit it's fake. They just don't even want to hear it. And it's naive. It's very arrogant.
It's so weird, too. It's like, why wouldn't you want to be more intelligent, educated about something? Like, just, take the news, or not necessarily the news, but especially if it's something science related, like, take the science. You can't argue science and numbers.
Here's Mr. Ron.
Ron Weasley.
Senator Ileana Garcia has legislation in the Florida Senate to ban geoengineering and weather modification in the state of Florida. I support the legislation. However, the Florida House of Representatives has gutted Senator Garcia's legislation, and they would actually codify the practice of geoengineering and weather modification. People got a lot of kooky ideas that they can get in and put things in the atmosphere to block the sun and save us from climate change. We're not playing that game in Florida. I support what Senator Garcia is doing, and I hope that people will tell the House of Representatives in Florida, do not gut this bill. Senator Ileana Garcia has legislation.
Yeah, screw that, bro.
Yeah, and he even speaks on it like they're like it's like it's not a conspiracy. I mean, it's proven that they're doing something to the clouds and to the sky, but then people go on the far end. They're like, well, they're doing this and they're gonna turn into this, and it's like, okay, well, let's start with proving that it's happening before you go into being a scientist and figuring out what it's doing specifically and being so certain about it, which you talked about blocking the sun to help climate change or whatever the reasons they're doing it. Doesn't make sense.
No, bro. It
Just
doesn't.
let the weather be. Let the weather
Let it be. Yeah, let it be. Mother Nature is a powerful force. Let her do what she's going to do, because the more we fuck with it, I feel like we ain't doing nothing but making anything worse. We ain't making nothing better, that's for sure.
100%, bro. So, yeah, and then, I mean, that's basically all the current political world news that we have. There are some other stories, that kind of crazy stories that's happened the last month or two. In Kansas, babysitter, sitting on babies, finds a real-life monster under the bed while calming a child she was watching. The child told the babysitter there was a monster under their bed. When she checked, she found the man hiding. Martin Villalobos, 27 years old, had a protection order to stay away from the home. Villalobos was arrested and taken to Barron County Jail. He faces multiple charges, including aggravated kidnapping, burglary, and child endangerment. His bond is set to $500K. Wow. How did he survive that, Pat? He would have got shot in my house, among other things.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, man.
That's nuts, bro. It's like real life Monsters, Inc. Who knows what that weirdo was planning on doing with that kid? That's sick.
Yeah, and then, like, to hide under the bed, and the babysitter just thinks, you're just being a kid, just hallucinating shit.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, bro. Like, that really adds some validity to those statements. Like, when I have kids, if they ask me to check under the bed, I'm gonna check every time now, because really can't.
Have to.
Yeah, can't risk that, buddy.
Let's see here.
There's another story, dude. Oh, go ahead. You got a video?
Well, some. See, it put a face to the name of Monster Inc. here.
The Barton County Sheriff's Office says the incident happened around 10:30 Monday night when they received a disturbance call to the 2000 block of Patton Road. That's where a woman babysitting says one of the children complained there was a monster under the bed. When the woman attempted to show the child there was nothing under the bed, she came face to face with a man who was hiding there. Deputies say there was some sort of an altercation that left one child knocked over during the struggle. The suspect then ran away before deputies arrived. The next morning, the suspect, identified as 27-year-old Martin Villalobos Sr., was found near the home and after a brief chase was taken into custody. Barton.
Dude, that is so nuts.
So nuts, but not as nuts as a kayaker getting swallowed by a whale.
Dude, is this the one where the bro got swallowed and then spit back out?
Yeah.
Okay, dude. Yeah, that was absolutely insane, bro. Yeah, so a whale swallowed a kayaker in Strait of Magellan in March of 25. Adrian Simancas, kayaking in the Strait of Magellan, was briefly engulfed by a whale that surfaced beneath him. Captured on video, the incident went viral for its sheer improbability and Simancas' miraculous escape unharmed. Dude, I remember seeing this short when it first started circulating, and I was like, dude, there's no way. But that even looks realer than that landing of that fucking Blue Origin. So, I mean, I believe that more than I believe the fucking landing.
Yeah, what are the odds of getting swallowed by a whale on accident and getting spit back up and surviving?
Oh, my gosh, dude. I feel like that's insane. I feel like they often swallow bigger things. He must have tasted those plastics and was like,
I definitely tasted his hair gel.
He's like, I've seen this movie before. I'm gonna spit this one out.
This is Chanel number 5.
Oh,
dude, so quick.
Hey, ya, vente.
Bro.
Don't come back for seconds.
Dude, that looks
Sí,
like...
yo en un principio cuando pensé que había muerto, fue como claro, mucho terror. Pensé que me había comido ya y que me había tragado, pero claro, yo sentía que quizás era una orca. Habíamos estado hablando de orcas poco antes, entonces tenía eso en la cabeza. Pero ya cuando salí, entendí que claro, probablemente era por curiosidad que se había acercado la ballena o quizás como para comunicar algo.
Bro, that fin that it showed afterwards, that looked like a Loch Ness monster or something. That didn't look like no whale
Yeah,
fin.
that horn. I was like, hold on, dude. That looks like a Titan movie shit.
That is so crazy, dude.
Dude, do you think we have even a crazier news article than that?
I mean, I believe we do, but it's all, bro, I just got to say, it's crazy. Like, because look how far out in the water they were. What do you even do about that? Like, you would want to be out of the water instantly, but then you got to fucking paddle your ass back to shore. I would never go in the water again.
No. I mean, I don't even like deep water. If I can't see below, I'm assuming the Loch Ness monster is about to swallow me like a toothpick. And that's just where it takes me.
Yeah, my big thing, me and Kayla was swimming in a big lake a couple years ago, bro, and my thing is if I can't see down, especially if the water's like green, I'm thinking that there's a snapping turtle just watching my toes in the water, and it's just going to come up and just bite it, and I'm going to be like, fuck!
Yeah, by the time you try to get down there to fight him, he's already gone with your toes.
Dude, God. Yeah, that sucks.
Oh, man, March 20th of 2025, inmates conceive child through air vents in a California prison. How is that possible is what I was thinking when I read the article, the headline of the article before I dove in. In California prison, 2 inmates in separate cells conceived a child without even meeting. The male inmate passed semen through the air vents using a bedding line, and the female inmate used a yeast infection applicator to inseminate herself. Against all odds, the baby was born healthy, making this one of the most astonishing prison stories reported. You can't even make a movie about that.
What is a bedding line, bro?
I think it's basically a string with a... So, this is what I pictured, and I could be totally fucking far off on this, but I'm thinking he put in a Dixie cup with a string, put some plastic around it, and then send... I don't know. But somehow, he figured it out. I don't know if he put it in a toothpaste bottle or what, but...
I was just always under the impression that semen died, like, when it hit the air.
Well,
so that's crazy.
Really strong semen, brother.
Yeah, he's got them swimmers on him, boy.
Well, when you look at him, he looks like he got some strong semen with that forehead.
Dude, that's about to be a D1 athlete, boy. Watch out.
Imagine telling your growing up to figure that out, dude.
That you're that kid?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I would market the shit out of that.
Bro, miracle baby if I've ever heard of it.
Miracle prison baby. 2 inmates, separate cells, conceived a child using a makeshift line made of bedding. They passed semen through the air vents, and then against all odds, Daisy Link revealed that she started a romantic relationship with Joanne DePez after they communicated through air conditioning vents in their solitary confinement cells. The two devised a plan to have a child after Joan expressed his desire to become a father.
Bro, that is nuts, bro.
Yeah, you can't even make that up, dude.
That dude actually looked like he had weak swimmers, if I had to guess, but good for him, I guess. He's going to get to live out his dream and be a father. Hopefully he don't pass that Johnny down.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's basically the gist of all the stories that's been going on since our last recording. Some of the stuff we're going to dive in next pod is definitely the files. We'll do an update on the files, the stuff that Tulsi exposed on Biden. Let's see. I know there's something else I had on here. Do you have any finishing thoughts before we hop up off here?
Man, get off Google. Change your passwords. Do something crazy. Do some research. Go on Bing. Look up something good.
And don't forget, Democrats today support forever wars, oppose peace, support corruption, oppose audits, support censorship, oppose free speech, oppose tax cuts, oppose the Second Amendment, support criminals, illegal aliens, and open borders. What is wrong with them?
Dude, I would like to propose a potential gambling opportunity for our viewers. Comment in the comment section over or under. Do you think it's going to be over or under 5 years before we get a documentary on Netflix about that prison baby? I'm going to go with the
already
under.
In the works.
I'm going with the under, baby. We're going to see that soon.
Yeah, Netflix ain't missing that op, that's for sure.
No, if I was a producer, I'd be jumping all over that one. I'm like, we got to get them out. We got to get them in the studio now. We're working.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when that kid turns 18, and like, yeah, it's hashtag's gonna be prison baby.
Hashtag prison baby.
All right, gang. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back next week with even more stories from the political world and the crazy, whatever other world you want to call it. And thanks for tuning in. We're gonna go ahead and hop off here.
Yes, sir. Everybody be easy. Stay breezy.